In a world where 2,400 divorces occur every day, where families are being torn apart daily, you can hear the call for help. Don't give up, because the answers are here. Let us help you make your marriage great again, a 4-week series that will help you win in your marriage. This is not the time to give up. It's time to fight. Fight for your family. Fight for the ones that can't fight for themselves. Fight for the future success of your family. We heard your cry for help. Now get ready to win your family back. Join us every Wednesday night, starting April 8th at 8 p.m. with my husband Shawn and I, the world's most satisfied couple, along with my special guests for week 1, Jermaine and Tanita Johnson, Ken and Dershawn Brown. It's free, but you have to register at www.marriagegreatagain.eventbrite.com. We look forward to fighting for your marriage with you.
Once again, my name is Jasmine Patton. I am the Director of Communication and Events at the Southfield Chamber of Commerce. The Southfield Chamber of Commerce is hosting several events virtually, and this is a part of our introduction into this new world of navigating COVID. We want to make sure that we cover several topics, from small business resources to help your business during this time, to also helping and assisting you with relationships and the things that we're dealing with in home and all the changes that we're going through. I would like to offer a introduction to this Friday. We have a Chamber One-on-One. Our Chamber One-on-Ones are our webinars with our members and business community. We'll have our host, Greg Doyle, who is the Advantage Oakland One-Stop Business Resource Shop. He'll be discussing small business resources this Friday at 11:30 on a webinar call, as well with Maurice Miller, who is from Great Lakes Mass Mutual. He'll be talking about exiting your small business and a retirement plan. So if that's something of interest to you, or if any of our programs are of interest to you at the Southfield Chamber of Commerce, feel free to engage with us at www.southfieldchamber.com. All right, we've gone over housekeeping. We've gone over the Southfield Chamber. I see more people that have come on board. Feel free to drop a 1 in the chat box so that I know that you know where to place a question if you have any concerns or anything that you want to interject during this discussion. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our main guest for this evening, Mr. Shawn and Miss Toy Banks, the world's most satisfied couple, have been married for 24 years with 4 boys, 20, 19, 18, and 15. Shawn Banks is the CEO of Banks Construction, LLC for 22 years. Miss Toy Banks is the world's most satisfied wife. Toy, I hope I said that right to do you justice. She is an international speaker and coach where she teaches wives how to live a satisfied and prepares future wives for a life as a wife. Together with her husband, they coach married couples on how to live satisfied in their marriage. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Toy Banks, Mrs. Toy Banks.
Hey, everybody, how y'all doing? Woo-woo! Y'all got to get a little excited out there. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm your girl, Mrs. Toy Banks, the world's most satisfied wife. And this is my amazing husband.
She told me to say I'm the world's most satisfied husband. Y'all learn how to listen.
That's Mr. Shawn Banks, my big daddy. That's right. That's right, my big daddy. Right, daddy.
Mm-hmm. The biggest daddy.
Right, the biggest daddy. My only daddy. What? So let me get off daddy for a minute, right? Or you like for me to stay on you for about another hour?
No.
Okay, all right. So let's move on.
I know this phone call anyway.
So I want to welcome everybody to the call. I thank you for joining us. So that you can make your marriage great again. Who's ready to make their marriage great again or continue on this road of satisfaction that you are already on? This call is about to be absolutely crazy, right, Daddy?
Yep.
You know what? This is what we're about to deal with on this entire call. Okay. This is what I got to deal with. Okay. But we're not alone here. Jasmine was just telling you a little bit about us. We are on our way to celebrating
25 years.
25 years, August 31st. right?
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to ask you for the day. I was going to make sure. As you can see right behind us is our family picture. We are a family of 6. We have 4 boys, Shawn, Christian, Blake, and Luke Banks. They are 20, 19, 18, and 15 years old. And so we're waving a fist like this. Is anybody threatening their kids on this call? Like, keep your mouth quiet and leave me alone, right? So we're doing that. You know, everybody's at home. And so this is a great time. Right now, I want to introduce my amazing guest. And first up, I want to introduce Ken and Shawn Brown. Unmute yourself and go ahead and introduce and tell us a little bit about you.
Hi. We are so excited to be here this evening to share this platform with you, as well as Tanita and her amazing husband. You shared some startling statistics earlier with us, and we are so excited to be a part of this, just to help break that, to destroy what's happening in the world today around marriages. So again, I'm excited. I know my husband's excited.
Oh, you know, come on now. It's on like popcorn. First of all, I want to thank, honestly, I just took a walk and I was thinking about, just to be totally transparent. Toy, I think what you're doing is really God's work. I really, really believe that, because as we on this call all know that marriage is a very heavy lift, because it takes the act of dying. And so I think that as we unpack this, I think that people are going to be healed, going to get some clarity. Some of us going to understand that we're not in it alone. So I'm just humbled and delighted to be able to share my experiences, our lives, our successes, some of our failures, some of our opportunities. So I hope people learn and grow, because we still doing it, right?
That's right.
We doing it. You know what I mean? We kind of build this thing as we at 30,000 feet. We still building it out.
Absolutely. So we're going on how many years?
4.
Going on 4 years. September 30th will be 4 years for us. And we're looking forward to hitting that 25-year mark as well and beyond. So thank you for being the example.
Well, thank you. First of all, I think Ken has been a little modest right now. Do you guys know who Ken Brown is? I mean, a great speaker. He used to own several McDonald's here. And let me just tell you a little story about Ken Brown's ability to build a business, and the customer service is hand down amazing. Okay. Before I even knew who he was, I experienced his great gift. He owned the McDonald's that's around the corner from me right here off 10 Mile and Telegraph, between 9 and 10 Mile. And I only order, I'm a fries and a shake girl. If I go to McDonald's, all I get is a fries and a shake. That fries go with that shake, right? And so I go in there and, you know, I'm one of them people, I like my fries straight out the grease. I want it hot like butter, okay? And so I ordered my fries. I get to my car, they're cold. I come back in and I'm telling the lady, hey, listen, my fries are cold. You know, could you guys just give me some fresh fries, drop them fresh? And Mr. Brown here overheard me talking to the cashier. And he said, excuse me, I'm sorry. You didn't get your food right? I said, no. He said, what went wrong? I said, well, my fries were just cold, but it's no big deal. I'll just, you know, if you guys can get me another. He said, oh no, it's a big deal. He said, because our goal is to make sure you return again. He said, get her another order of fries. Is there anything else that we can get you? I'm like, no, that's it. Are you sure? I said, oh no, that's good. He said, okay, 1 second. He saw that I ordered a shake. He saw that I ordered fries, went into the cash register and gave me my money back. And I'm like, no, sir. You don't have to do this. I'm good. I just want a fries. He said, no, my goal is to make sure you return. And I looked at him and said, you a special cat. Like this guy. And then when I found out that his McDonald's were the top #1 McDonald's in the city, I started telling everybody, I know exactly why. I have a firsthand experience. So he's absolutely amazing. So Ken, tell them a little bit about what you do.
Well, I'm a restaurateur. I actually retired at the age of 42, to God be the glory. And I retired, and I did because, you know, by going into business, being the first generation, we never had a blueprint. So I kind of had to fake it till I made it. Reading books, investing in myself, and so I decided. And when I got in business, and I was able to be successful. I said, how many other people who have got into business that stuck in their business? And so I took classes and became a certified business coach. And then I just started for the last 10 years, 15 years, going across the country, helping people build, scale, sustainable businesses, especially our people. I take anybody's money off anybody, but especially our people. So, my wife and I also opened a new restaurant called Simply Breakfast. We still believe we're still in the process of doing that. And God is so powerful because he protected us. You know, do this. We've been open right now. We talked about the other day. Had we not been open, I kept saying, Lord, why we didn't get the financing? What happened? Trust me, son. You know, and so very, very, and then it's so funny. And so you got an opportunity to go into Chicago during that time and build a restaurant for Dr. Pastor Bill Winston. So that was God, you know, honoring us and telling us, look, you're doing a good job, gave us opportunity to do that. And now we will be opening up Simply Breakfast. So that's what I do, but it's not about me. So this is about these relationships. But I thank you though for bringing it up though. I really do.
Well, listen, our family is connected to our purpose and our business, and you know, managing business and family. And listen, that's work in itself. We all know that, and it can be challenging, but we have to be mindful that our family is successful first and then our business. And you guys are doing such a great job. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to showcase you in celebrating what you guys are both doing. Also, now I want to put the camera on to my friends, Jermaine and Tanita Johnson. Tell them a little bit about you.
Hey, Toy. Hey, Brown.
Hey.
Hey, everybody. We are the Johnsons, married 17 years. How long? You sure? You just gonna smile and nod tonight.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Married 17 years. We got 3 kids, 1 girl, 2 boys, and yeah. What else do we say?
So what do you guys do?
So I'm a full-time entrepreneur, author, editor, writer, publisher. You want to tell them what you do?
Yeah, I work too. Nothing like that. No, but I mean, I do work. I work for a pharmaceutical company, but our goal, our mission in this life here on earth is we are marriage coaches. I don't want to say counselors. I actually am in school though. That's my next achievement, is to become a full-time counselor. But marriage coaches, we like to coach people up because we found out every single way of how to do it wrong. So we know all the wrong ways. We know we're like, I'm just gonna tell you how to do it the opposite way. So that kind of makes us good coaches because yeah.
Right. Yeah, because you know the good, the bad, and the downright ugly, right?
Ugly? I mean, like that ugly morning. Yeah, we know that.
Right. That's awesome. Well, we're so glad to have you guys here.
Thank you.
Want to say something?
No, you can set it off, man.
Okay, and so I want to showcase also my big daddy here. My husband is the owner of Banks Construction LLC. He is the baddest contractor in the D, okay? All right, anything that has to do with a house, whether it's the roof, to the foundation, to building you a house from start. He's been in business since 1998 and never advertised, and been holding up his household and making way for other men to take care of their families for over 20 years now. And so I'm thankful and proud of my big daddy. He's been holding it down. You know, when I met my husband, he used to show me the drawings. He worked for a furniture company, and he used to show me the drawings of the houses that he wanted to build one day. And I knew I wanted to be the woman that helped him really bring that dream to life. And I thank God that right before children, he started the building a year before we had our first son, that God gave us the opportunity to start that. And he has been going strong ever since then. And so I'm thankful to you for that.
Thank you too, man.
God bless you. So, all right, let's get started. Because listen, guys, we're in real trouble right now. Our nation, and countries all around us, with this pandemic that we are in the middle of. There's another panic going on. There's another pandemic. Right now, we have realized there's a statistic that just came out that said there's a 25% increase in domestic violence ever since they told us to go back into the house, okay, which is unfortunate. And then there has been an increase of divorces. Now, you got to understand this. Even before the pandemic, 2,400 divorces happen in the United States of America. I'm not talking about in Italy or in Europe. We're talking about just in the United States of America, okay? 2,400 a day, okay? That is a pandemic all by itself. And I put a post out and I said, man, if we would take the same attitude that we're taking towards this virus, towards marriage, our marriages would be much more stronger. They would last longer. And mind you, family is the foundation of this country. As a matter of fact, they say that the biggest problem that our nation is facing, out of all the things that we could be facing, I mean, we got viruses going around, we got poverty going around, we have all this other stuff, but the number one thing that's destroying our economy is fatherless homes.
But technically, we have to do the exact opposite of what they're telling us to do for the pandemic.
Exactly.
Most people put a mask on their marriage, and the other part is they do social distancing.
That's the last thing that you want to do in a marriage is have social distance and put a mask on, okay? But that's what's happening. And why do you think, Daddy, that people are having problems and are moving towards divorce now that they're in the home?
Because they master problems that are dealing with, number one. But right now, we're doing this discussion so that we can help you solve your problem, because the courts ain't open, so you can't go get no divorce right now.
They're gonna give you a Zoom divorce.
You gotta wait.
You're gonna get an online divorce.
Right. You can't even file right now.
Right, you know, and so which is terrible to know, especially, you know, us having a love for marriage. We know the problems that come with it. Listen, you cannot do 15, 20, 25, 30 years and not have scars to prove it. Listen, this marriage thing will bring everything out of you. It will press everything out of you. It will bring out the ugly. It will bring out your best. It's up to you what it's going to bring out. And so today we want to focus on bringing out the best, but in sharing how to bring out that best, we're going to have to share some ugly. I need Robin to put your phone on mute, please. There's a microphone on the bottom. If you can just push mute. All participants, if you just came in, if you can put your phone on mute, we appreciate it, because we don't want any disruptions. Thank you so much. Thank you all again for being here. Let's move on. So I want to hit a powwow. I want to go straight to the gut on this. One of the biggest problems right now is one of the problems that I get. As you guys know, I do a show every Sunday called Solution Sundays. People send letters in with problems that they are having. And one of the resounding problems that keep coming to my inbox, which I'm kind of tired of even talking about, and that is adultery. We have wives. I had a wife call me and said, I've had 3 physical altercations with my husband's mistress. 3. She's come to my door. She's calling my house, and he's had 2 children with her. And so my immediate response is, I don't even want to talk to him. I want to talk to you because what is going on in your brain? Because if you think about this, if he's got 2 kids with the mistress, that means at minimum she's been around for 2 years.
He's got 2 kids with the mistress.
He's got 2 kids with the mistress.
And she's still sending in letters?
She's asking, what should I do? Right? What should I do? So apparently she don't want to let the marriage go. But what she does not understand is the marriage is already gone.
But what she does not understand, at this point, she's the mistress.
She's the mistress. Do you know the Bible says that there are 4 things that cause the earth to shake? It causes to tremble. So you know, when you hear an earthquake, I just want you to remember this, that the Bible says. He said the earth, one of the main ones, was when a mistress replaces a wife. That was one of them. The other one is 2, and it both had to do with a wife. He says when a contentious woman, a nasty, evil woman gets married. the earthquakes, it shakes. So when we see earthquakes, we can blame it on evil, nasty wives and mistresses who came in and messed up the marriage, right?
So what you're saying is that women contribute to the destruction?
Exactly. Listen, I don't want to, listen, that's what the Bible says, right? And so we as women, we have a lot of power, right? But the Bible also talks to the man. He said, husbands, get to know your wife according to knowledge. What is the problem we're having? What are the problems that women are calling saying? They are saying, listen, my husband doesn't talk to me. He doesn't spend enough time with us. He doesn't have to spend enough time with me or even the children. So the wife is stressed, overwhelmed, crying, and depressed, and the husband has no idea. Why? Because he's not getting to know his wife according to knowledge. Then we have men who are dealing harshly with their wives. They are nasty, rude, disrespectful towards their wives. And the Bible says to a husband, he said, husband, treat your wife with kindness and gentleness. He says, or I'll shut your prayers down. God is not playing with neither the wife or the husband. He's not playing with neither one of us. We both have a position in this marriage. We both have a responsibility in this marriage. And just like Adam and Eve came with their excuses, they both got cursed at the end of the day. Doesn't matter who did it first. Didn't matter. God cursed Eve. He cursed Adam. And he even cursed the devil who they blamed it on.
Yeah, but the problem with marriages is that people don't understand what marriage is all about. They don't understand the rules to marriage. So when you violate the rule, it's not a big deal to you because you don't understand it in the first place. Mm-hmm. You don't understand how to respect your wife, honor your wife, love your wife. Most people don't pray. Some people don't even believe in God. So for him to say that, you know, I'm going to hinder your blessings if you don't do this, that, or the other, they don't know that. They don't understand that, but they can't figure out why things aren't going the way they want them to go. Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, our kids, we have 3 that have their driver's license. The youngest one, 15, he hasn't started yet. And I was just talking to Ken and Shawn about this, that when we had to take them for driver's ed, now all of us that are on the phone, if you're married, most likely back when you were in school, it was either free to get your driver's ed, to go to driver's ed, or you paid at minimum $99 for everything.
For 1 week. Get a driver's license on Friday.
1 week, that was it, right? And it was one guy in the area where I was, everybody went straight through him. Well, it was simple, but now it costs $350 for the first session, for the first one. And that's when they're in the classroom and they're learning about the road. They're learning about the signs. They're learning about all of the rules. And we're paying $350 for that right now, right? And so then they go through another phase where they go through the driver's.
They got to go for the driver's test. Then they got to go to Secretary of State and get that. Then they got to go on your insurance.
And so money. And every phase he's talking about, there's more money, right? And so, but here's the interesting thing. When my husband and I, like many of you, we went down to the city county building 25 years ago. And we paid them $20 and they gave us a marriage license and we walked straight out. And this lies the problem with marriages, is because we do not value them to the point where we will give you a $20 license and say, go have at it, figure it out. And this is why the divorce rate is over 50%. This is why we have 2,400 divorces every single solitary day.
Yeah, nobody has to work for that marriage license.
Don't have to work for it. And you don't understand the rules around it. So we're going to talk about a little of that today, but I want to dive into Jermaine and Tanita first, because their story, they have a book called Marriage Uncut, where they discuss the unfortunate infidelity that took place in their marriage. Now, we all know that infidelity is the big woo-woo for most people, right? Now, I don't know about anybody else, but for me, it's probably second. First to me is disrespect. I can't do disrespect. It drives me crazy. To me, it's worse. Like if you call me out my name, which my husband has never done, and I've never called him out his name. It's just something that we've never done. It's just a no-no. Even before we were saved, we didn't do that. But Jermaine and Tanita Johnson went through adultery, not just once, but twice. And they spoke about this in their book called Marriage Uncut. And so now I want you to unmute yourself right now, because we are about to have a discussion.
I want to say something real quick before they talk. the number one reason why we've never disrespected each other is because from day one, I said I wouldn't tolerate it. And as the man of the relationship, as the man of the house, you can set ground rules for your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the woman can set ground rules for the relationship, and you'll know that it's not tolerable. So you got a lot of women that's disrespecting men because the man allowed them to from day one. And you got a lot of men that's disrespecting women because the woman allowed them to from day one. Like you got this woman whose mistress has 2 kids by her husband. She allowed that to happen. That's the only reason why it happened. I know for a fact I could never have two babies with a mistress with my wife. I can't even have a mistress and we still be married, right? Because she laid the ground rules from day one. So
Not gonna happen.
I just wanted to say, fellas, you gotta stand. You gotta make a stand from day one. You gotta start like you want to finish. Put it that way.
Mm-hmm. That's real good. Because one thing my husband would never allow me to do is raise my voice or to. First of all, I would have never disrespected him. I have a problem with disrespect. Okay.
At first, yeah, maybe she would have tried. Yeah,
No, I wouldn't have. I'm not a disrespectful person.
Yeah.
I probably raised my voice, but I would never call you out your name.
No,
that's something that's never been a part of who I am. Now, I probably got a little upset and
like
trying to tell me what to do.
You've been sitting there talking about, come back here, where you going?
So let's get to Jermaine and Tanita. Listen, okay, so I'm going to start with Tanita because, Tanita, I know a little something.
Yeah.
And so there's a reason why I'm starting with you. So tell us what happened, darling.
She was the loose one.
That is not what happened.
I'm sorry. My bad. Ooh. Sorry.
I was the whore in the marriage. No, I went away for a weekend to Chicago, which is where I'm from. We were kind of at each other's throats for probably 2 or 3 weeks. We hadn't been speaking.
Weeks?
Yeah, weeks. We had
years.
We had been
privileged.
Well, yeah, but what led up to the actual act? So yeah, it had been years and stuff had been festering off and on. We had said we wanted a divorce for, you go through 6 months of good, 6 months of bad. In the 6 months of bad, you like, let's just get divorced. But it came time for me to go away for a weekend, and I went home to Chicago and hooked up with somebody for a one-night stand. So I came back and I was gonna try and hold it. I thought I was gonna try and hold it and not tell him. And that didn't work so well. So yeah, exactly. Why you just gonna leave me out there? So I literally got sick, like sick to my stomach, throwing up, couldn't look him in the eyes, like the conviction was great. And the Holy Spirit literally was like, you have to tell him.
She got sick, yeah.
And I was like, nope. And I was like, nope, God, I'm not telling him. So I'm trying to negotiate with God. So I'm like, okay, if I could take my counselor with me, then I'll tell him I need a third party. Because this is a Marine. Y'all can see he's much bigger than me. I didn't want to tell this man I had cheated on him. So I took him to the church.
But you sick.
I took him to the church because I felt like that was the safe place because God is there. And I had my counselor. So I felt like I had double backing. And I told him, that I had stepped outside the marriage. Now,
whoa. You ain't tell me nothing.
No, yes, I did.
You didn't tell me.
I did. Okay, I sat there with tears in my eyes, and he pretty much knew.
No,
he
the counselor told me because she couldn't do it, but go.
That's why I took the counselor with me. Yeah.
Okay, so wait a minute. Now I want to move it over to Jermaine right now because Jermaine.
We in church though.
Listen here. The Bible says that when a man's wife does such a thing, he said, who can tame his anger? Who can quench it? Who can calm him down? There is nothing that can calm him down. So Jermaine, tell us what your immediate response, your feelings, your emotions, what?
You
hit the fan.
Yeah, I did. I hit the roof. I did. I went off.
In Greater Grace Temple.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where I was at. To me, let's be clear.
Who cares at this moment?
I could have been at the gate of heaven right then. It was anger is anger. I'm sorry. It is what it is. But no, betrayal. I mean, you feel betrayal. I mean, anger. Especially for a man, your pride. That's your pride. That initially, that's what you feel. It's a blow to your pride. But as you continue to think about it, it's more than that. It's everything that you are. It hits everything that you are to, you know, down to your being. I mean, because you're like, this is what God gave me. Now, what God gave me is turning his back on me. So, yeah.
Yeah, wow. So, how did you guys get through this?
For actually, it had to be me because my initial thought was it's over.
He packed up the whole house, Toy. Packed up the whole house.
Somebody say the whole house. Somebody
the whole house.
The whole house.
24 hours, Toy. He
it wasn't
did not
24
sleep.
hours.
He
It
did
was
not
like
sleep.
it was like 8. I left there. I went to Meyer. I got
He
a bunch of
wasn't
these
even
blue
beating
tops,
nothing.
and I packed up. It was, but it
By
was
himself too.
didn't get no more.
You didn't need no help packing?
No, he didn't need no help.
She wouldn't even come home. She
I didn't come home that night. I stayed somewhere else.
And I didn't know it. That's another thing. I didn't know where she was. So I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah. So I mean, at that point, we'd always say again, it's because at that point, it's, you know, they say, you know, speak those things that aren't as though they are, as though they speak those things that aren't as though they were.
Yeah.
We would always say that was a deal breaker. We would always say that. So be careful when you say that, it can become that. So that's instantly in my mind that, okay, it's a deal breaker if this is over with. But, you know, that night I actually had to have a real coming to Jesus moment. I had to sit down and look at myself and say, what did I do to put us in that position? Because
so wait a minute. And how long did that coming to Jesus moment happen? Because I know your anger was flared for a minute.
Well,
3 days.
It wasn't really 3 days. It was really like the next day. It happened. It would come in spurts. Like I knew because I'll go back before.
He had a dream.
Yeah, it went before that, because before she even told me, honestly, God had already told me, and he told me that this would be my testimony. He would use this would be a great testimony for me. So I knew it already. I'd already knew it. But so once God had already told me that, when I heard it, it was just confirmation. It didn't make it any less hurtful to me. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, as we continue to go through it, that night, as I'm packing up everything, I'm that dude. I'm on Facebook. I'm doing all the stupid stuff. I'm on Facebook. I'm saying, she this and she that, and I can't live
with all girl.
No, Jermaine, you did not.
He didn't connect it with the exes, toy, everything.
What I tell y'all, I said we are experts at what not to do. I'm just saying.
Let's just wait a minute. Let's pinpoint that right now for all the married couples on the call. You do not. Repeat. Everybody say, do not go to social media when you get marital issues. It is a no.
No.
Don't go nowhere. As a matter of fact, you really need to sit by yourself. Don't even tell your family and friends, because you need to figure out what you might end up talking too much, right? And saying, and then regretting that you told so many people, because now you're about to restore it. And sometimes people can aggravate the restoring process. Yes. Go right ahead.
And I'll say, and that's exactly what happened. I was on Facebook. This is back in 2000. This was 2011. I'm on Facebook. I'm putting it all out there. She this and she that, and she claiming to be me. She done put this book out talking about some 100 words of encouragement. She can't encourage. Dude, I'm putting it all out there. But while we're doing this, we are in a marriage ministry at the same time. We're going to marriage Sunday school. We're doing all that.
Wait a minute. Y'all were facilitating marriage meetings?
Yes.
Hey, Granny Grace.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Hey, Jermaine, you had like 200 new followers, didn't you?
No, we were actively involved in like the marriage Sunday school. We would teach it when the instructors weren't there. We had stepped in to do stuff. I mean, yeah, we did that. So
on the ministerial staff, having an adultery crisis in your marriage.
Yes.
So how many people did you counsel after that?
Oh, after that, it took a while. No, after that, I was the counsel lead.
He didn't want to talk about it.
He said, I need some help.
but that's what stopped me when I was on Facebook. One of our mentors, she inboxed me. She was like, I thought she was going to inbox me and say, I know how you feel, and she just couldn't stop.
Take it down.
I know you upset, but stop. But that's what I needed, somebody real, and so that's what I do now. Like when I counsel brothers now, or when I say coach brothers now, dude, I don't sugarcoat. I tell them how it is, because the worst thing you can do in that situation is have someone to have a yes man.
Mhm.
Somebody that's giving you amens to every little stupid mistake you make or every stupid thing.
Like for instance, yeah, man, I would have did it too. I would have did this. And you're trying to you're trying to hold on to Jesus and this worldly type of counsel.
And you a good man, you doing this? Oh yeah, that's not what you need. You need somebody to say, okay, yeah, she messed up.
He had women telling him, "Oh, you a good man. I'm so sorry that happened to you. You need somebody to talk to."
Come on now, Tanita, we know what they was doing, right? We know what they was trying to get you out the way, boo.
You know the game. You know the game.
I'm talking about women in the church waiting at the door, like, "Are y'all divorced yet? Is your wife gone yet?" At the church.
Yes. Hunty, listen, you know church ain't nothing but the hospital, right? All types of people up in there. So okay, so now fast forward, because now, Jermaine, the spotlight is on you, boo. 6 months later, what happened, dude?
Well, and actually,
what happened was
right.
It comes full circle, because that first night, some of the people that I had reached out to and they saw all that, it wasn't even 6 months, it was about 3 months later, they start seeing all that, and they waited till a time and they just start inboxing me, little messages here, little messages there. To one of them, he caught me at a weak moment. I say a weak moment, at a stupid moment, and it worked. And I started going down that road.
He went on a plane. He had to get on a plane and go to another state.
Well, that was some serious inboxes.
That sounds like some revenge, boo.
But you know what? And a lot of it, honestly, it was probably more so revenge, also too. It was because, you know, you think you're healing and you're not doing nothing. You're not going about it the right way. You're covering up again. That whole masking. Oh, I'm fine. Not talking about your feelings. Saying you fine, but inside you're hurting and you don't want to say anything because you're trying to be the man. And then you somebody else that's coming up catch you because you know the enemy knows how and when to attack you, and knew exactly how to get in there, and that's what happened. And exactly, I'm on the plane, and it's funny because I get on the plane. As I get on the plane, the moment I see her, God is telling me, like, you stupid, what are you doing?
Wow.
And I keep pushing forward.
And it was around Christmas time.
Oh, not the Christmas mistress.
The Christmas mistress.
Hey, she was the Grinch that stole Christmas.
Woo, we laughing now, y'all, but this was serious.
Laughing hard.
Right. we able. Thank God you're able to laugh now. So let me ask you. So did you come home and tell her?
I did immediately. So when she came home, it took her a couple of days before she came to me. I did it immediately. I came home, I unpacked my clothes. I said, look, I gotta talk to you. And I understood exactly what she was feeling. I felt that condemnation as well. So I just couldn't handle it. I'm just like, I'm wrong. I can't do this no more. We gotta fix this. And I was adamant about it. Like, look, I messed up. Look, I don't care. We gotta fix this. We gotta talk about this. And what she probably tell you, she was pregnant too. So.
No,
you know, nothing like a praying wife now.
No, I was pregnant. I was pregnant 3 months after the affair. So I'm going through a whole period of time where he's like, I don't believe the baby you're carrying is mine.
Woo, that's a tough. So you're going through. That's a question it's natural for him to have that.
Thank you.
You know, that's a natural question.
Y'all see my daughter?
She wasn't here.
So let me ask you something. Did you go and get a blood test? Did you go that far, or you just let that go?
Yep, let it go.
He wanted me to get the amniocentesis, where they stick the needle down in you while you still pregnant and pull fluid. Like, that's what he wanted me to get. He wanted to know before the baby got here if that was his.
Wow.
He didn't.
We didn't do it.
You didn't do it. Well, praise God you didn't. So Tanita, now the spotlight is on you now, because he's come and told you this. But now, Tanita, This is real interesting here because now you've been feeling all this pain and this guilt and this shame, and now he's went over and done the same thing you have done, and I know you wanted him to forgive you. Did this kind of this might sound crazy, did this kind of give you some relief?
Oh, absolutely. No, it literally was like, okay, we're even. Can we move on now? Even.
I still don't feel that way.
You may not feel as even. I felt like, all right, we're even. Move on now. You did your, like when he told me, I was hurt, but I wasn't as hurt as I probably would have been had I not stepped out first. But it was like, okay, I expected you to do that. I expected you to do that after the first month. He waited 6 months to do it. So it was like, okay.
The difference between a woman and a man is that our biological makeup is just totally different. When you're ours. Yeah. So when somebody else mess with something that's ours, now it's tainted. No matter how much you try to polish it, clean. That's like if you have a car, right? And this is your favorite car. If somebody steal that car, we don't want it no more. No. If somebody else has driven that car, we didn't give them permission to drive that car.
You don't know what they did in that car.
We don't want the car no more because we feel like it's violated. So
he has literally had a truck stolen, and after he got it back, he sold it immediately. He's like, I don't want it.
And it was the same with her. The first thing I'm asking him, I'm gonna be real with you. I'm asking all the questions. How big was he?
No, but he asked too many questions. That's the problem.
But because now you say this, I needed to know that because again, it's a pride thing, but it's in a man's makeup where you're mine, and you don't want no one else to have you. So you want to know what he done to it. You don't know. You want to know everything. I want all the gory details.
Who dressed all loose.
Stupid. I was asking him.
Yeah. See, a man don't want a woman who show her body, show her cleavage, show all that, because they don't want nobody else seeing it. Yep. You know what I mean?
So okay, let's go back because that right there, that statement you just made. Okay, let's hit on that real quick. I've had this question posed to me several times on panels. There are people who are dating and about to, they're engaged, about to get married. They may have a fiance that's asking them how many married partners did they have, and they ask me, should I tell them? I always tell them no. It's not none of your business. Old things are passed away. Behold, I am new. Even if God says that he throw it in the lake of forgetfulness, never to remember it again, I don't want to remember it again. And if you are not going to get with me, or if that's going to stop us from getting married, well, then so be it. Because what the truth of the matter is this, when it comes to the male species, I've done a lot of studying about the male species, and many men are going to fight me on this. And even some, maybe even my husband will fight me on this, because there's a desire that they want to know, right? But that's the side of them that's deceiving them. Because here's the thing, your mind cannot take that.
No, seriously, the only thing, let me tell you why we want to know.
Go ahead, Daddy.
We want to know because our wife is our prized possession.
Mm-mm.
And what we want to know is if half the dudes we meet just slept with our wife. That's what we want to make sure has not happened. It's not a problem of, it's not a thing of.
But what if she tells you she had, what if she tells you I've had 35 guys? It's now.
If she, but you gotta understand, that says a lot about her and the type of person she is.
Or was.
I can honestly tell you, it hurts. The hunger to know what the past is to actually know it hurts worse. I'd rather sit there and wanna try and know and guess about it than to actually know, because once you know, you can't unknow it.
You gotta paint it.
I know, but the thing about it too is the guy want to know that if you got 35 partners, if you had 35 partners, there's a chance I might catch something from you.
Well then, but listen, you can get that with one person. I know a young girl that was.
The chances, you got 35 more chances than one person.
You do have more chances, but it only takes one. Like right now, they're telling you not to meet with people. Why? It only takes one person to give you the coronavirus. Right. That's all it takes. It only takes one.
So what you saying is, if you done slept with 35 coronas, you know what I'm saying? That's 35 more chances of me catching something.
You do
than it is for that one person.
You do have more chances, but here's what's going to happen. It's not if. The Bible says a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. That all Satan needs is a little gap to get in there. So what happened is, if Tanita then describes to you detail to detail what they did sexually, right? Even once you heal from it, the next time you guys have an argument or anything that comes up, Satan is going to bring you in remembrance of that. And he's going to say, well, remember. And even when you're having, when you guys finally get back to being intimate, Satan is going to use those thoughts and the things that she said, and it's going to mess with you. And listen, our brains cannot handle certain things. We think we can. Even Jesus, there were times that Jesus said to the people, he said, they would ask him a question. He said, you ain't ready for that. This is not something that you need to know. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle it. And so a man mentally cannot deal with, I had a girlfriend who husband was cheating on her with multiple women. Women showed up at her door. He was abusing her. Women called her on her phone. She ended up getting so weak, fell into the arms of one man. Now, he done messed around with her several years. She let him know what had happened with that. And it drove him crazy. He lost his mind. You cannot, listen, I know y'all want to think y'all can. And I know in the side of you that you think you should. But listen, if God forgives us for it, and he threw it in the lake of forgiveness, and so listen, how long did it take for you guys to get to the point where you're on the road of healing now?
I'm going to address that one thing you just said.
Okay.
This was 8 years ago. Not now it's 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And I made the mistake of making her, and I say making her as I just kept pressuring her to give me the gory details. To this day, it still bothers me. To this day, to where I already know when those thoughts come, I have a thing that I have to go through, whether it's worship music, what it is. I have a whole process that I have to go through to get rid of it. So that's why. So I understand exactly what you're saying. Like if God is putting, if there's not a health reason why you need to know, like you said, it's not worth it. It's better because when she started to ask me about the gory details, because I was going through it, I wouldn't give her.
Wouldn't give me the details.
I would prefer her leave me, honestly. But to be honest, I would prefer she leave me so that she wouldn't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Because of what I know I deal with, because I made her go through it.
Absolutely. See, you just confirmed exactly what I just said. So where are you guys now? I mean, I know you guys are so good, but what was that thing that said that day? Because, I picture your house, and a house is in ruins right now with, her committing adultery. Then 6 months later, you committing adultery. And then did you guys go get therapy? Did you guys go get help? What was the process to get where you are now?
Well, I'll tell you, it was a roller coaster ride. Probably for the next 6 to 8 months, he was toggling between, I'm staying, I'm going, let's separate, let's get a divorce. No, let's just separate for a while, let's get a divorce. To the point where that following spring, I actually moved out and got an apartment, signed a lease, never really stayed at the apartment, just got the apartment, brought new furniture. We split everything down the middle. We split in tax returns, all that, because he's like, let's just separate. Let's not get a divorce. Let's just separate.
Waste of money.
And literally God was like, when y'all stop wasting time and money, I'll be here. But literally I would say our daughter definitely played a part in, she was born May 5th. So our daughter definitely played a part in us restoring the marriage. She does not do well with any type of disagreement or bad energy in the house. If we're arguing, she will come in the middle of us like, stop yelling, stop yelling. She doesn't do well with any of it. It made us flat, like they say, flatten the curve. Like we had to totally get rid of all that.
But we did actually, it was counseling. It was counseling. It was Ron and LaShawn's boot camp.
Yep. Boot camp. Yeah.
Boot camp was the turning, because we had done counseling, other counseling. We had done a lot of things, but the boot camp is what saved us. And I can tell you the week it happened, there's a forgiveness piece within the boot camp, and that was literally, it was literally like a light switch to where like a light switch and the light bulb came above both of us, and it's like it clicked and we got it because we had to understand that we were broken before we came into this marriage.
Yeah.
And then we had to forgive all those that came before both of us, our parents and all the other stuff that we had caught that had brought us to this point.
Mhm.
And then forgiving each other for where we were and for what we had done to each other. And then just honestly, making that rationalization that divorce is not an option. Let's stop. First of all, stop saying it. Stop saying it. And honestly, and that was it. And after that, I mean, don't get me wrong. We've had problems, and I'm not going to say we ain't never argued because, I mean, we got into it real bad, about 6 months ago?
We had to have Ron and Shawn come
we had to have a redo. We did. But
but we weren't talking about divorce.
No.
So that's the step up because before when we would fall out to
Yeah.
the point of not speaking, it would be divorce.
So now we might have, but we know instantly. I just like, look, this ain't working right now. We got to go get some help.
Right.
We'll just say it, but it's not like, this ain't working. I'm gonna go find that's
Ain't
not
nobody
even
going
an option
nowhere.
no more. So I mean, like we have our periods, but trust me, we have the tools that we need to get through it. Yeah.
That is great. Listen, I love your story. And listen, those that are participants on the call, here's what I want you to do. Get your questions ready. There's going to be a segment where we take on your questions, especially with Jermaine and Tanita's story. If you have questions, I want you to get those ready because we're going to take those on before the end of the call. But I want to move on now to Ken and Shawn Brown because they have an interesting story as well. They were both married prior to them being married now. So this is a second marriage. So they've been through the whole divorce thing. So if you're on this call, you've been through divorce and you're like, listen, I'm on my second marriage and it's not going well and we're headed towards divorce. This is about to be a great conversation because they both have testimonies of how they had to adjust to this new marriage, but at the same time, let go of some bad habits from the previous marriage. And so I want to start with you guys, Ken and Shawn, and I want to ask you, first of all, what do you think that, because, many people talk about what the other person did in the previous marriage that destroyed it. What do you say? And I'm going to go to Ken first on this. What did you miss? What do you wish that you would have known before you got married the first time, and where did you go wrong?
Wow, that's a great question because if you had asked me that question 5 years ago, I'd be like, it was her. Lost her mind. She was but seriously. But healing and growth is something else. Can I be transparent with you?
Yes, please.
Look, I pointed that first because I'm a leader in the community. I'm a business owner, and I have 3 kings that are watching me, and I'm bleeding inside. Because I love my family. I wanted my family, and so. But it's interesting that I went to my pastors, I went to friends, and nobody could give me any. They were like I had to play it. Everybody kept looking at me like, "Oh, did you cheat? Did you do this? Do this?" No. So I had to really look at, and I would tell people no, but I did cheat, not physically. Emotional cheating is real. And so it's very difficult because we were married for 18 years. My wife, I never forget when things started to fizzle out, I never got an answer. She said, "You are a great husband, great provider, great friend, outstanding father. It's me." And so I got latched off into a new life with that right there. Nothing to grow on at all. That actually ate me up inside. So I had to have what I call a Michael Jackson moment. I'm looking at the man in the mirror, telling him to change his ways. So I had to quit blaming and know what really happened. Gotta be totally transparent. I dropped my kids off to school. I sent my kids off to school. I was a single parent at the time. Dropped my boys off at school, and I was just wrecked inside. I'm bleeding. I mean, I'm just bleeding inside, but I had to put on the mask every day. And it got so bad that I drove to Brightmoor Church, and I wanted to talk to Pastor Jamie. I got to talk to him, and he wasn't available. So I got one of the pastors, and he grabbed me in a room, and I went and just trying to tell him about her, what she did wrong. And he looked at me, and he was like, "You just got to forgive." I forgave. And he said, no, you didn't. And that right there, I had that light bulb moment where I said, you know what? I had to start to look at myself. And what I figured out was that we have to take care of mental, physical, spirit. We are mental, spiritual, physical, emotional beings. And what I've learned that we more physical men, we provide. I saw my father getting up every day, working 3 jobs to provide for my family. So that's what most things not taught, they're caught. So I thought that being a man, being a grand poobah, being a man of God is providing for my family, mentally, physically, but emotionally, I never knew, I wasn't equipped to do that, didn't know it. And one thing you know, money kind of camouflages things. So in 18 years, no arguments, no infidelity, no cheating. It was like, okay. So when it got exposed, that emotionally, I was not making deposits in my ex-wife anymore. I was taking care of the business, holding down the family, but I didn't, you know what I'm saying? And so that, I had to take ownership of that. I wasn't feeding her anymore. And so I look at like, I failed my family. And I can say that honestly, because it is my job. I got caught up. And I think one thing is so important is that we start out the relationship a certain way, that I would take care of the family outside the home. She would take care of the kind of the family while the boys were small. And then when things shifted, we never had a conversation. Our relationship shifted. So I quit really feeding that emotional. We would go out for dates and I'm on the phone looking at the business, and I quit feeding my relationship. 5-6 years ago, I didn't have that understanding. It was all about her. She's selfish. You know, I mean, I threw, instead of giving her my time, and I never forget, I missed so many cues. I never forget, we would go on dates every Friday religiously, you know, and I remember one day we were at home with the whole family having dinner, and my son was like, they talked about, you know, Dad, we don't ask for all this. You know, we didn't ask for your presence. We want your presence. And that was huge to me. And so for me, going into this relationship with Shawn, I almost brought some of that baggage into this relationship at first. And so I can go on and on about it. So, but that emotional thing is huge. Some people I believe this, and my belief is that an emotional relationship is almost worse than a physical one to me, because I thought, like I said, the thought life is huge. And so if you're not feeding someone emotionally, that's more dangerous to me than someone defiling their body. I know spiritually the body is important, but I understand now that I have to constantly make emotional deposits to my wife. I have to be attentive to her needs. And I can tell you, my first one, I thought I was, but now looking back at it, I was absolutely not, and I got to own it.
Mm-hmm. We have this thing that we talk about all the time, like as it relates to a man and a woman, like what their needs are. And for a woman, we almost always say that she has this cup.
Wow, yeah.
And as long as you keep her cup full with compliments, keep her cup full, telling her how much you love her and all that kind of stuff, nobody else can deposit anything in that cup as long as it's full. Yeah. You know, if another guy come by and try to tell her how good she look, it's just gonna fall in the cup and run over. It's not gonna be in the cup. But if that cup is empty or half empty, that allows the opportunity for the enemy to start depositing stuff in that cup too. And once the enemy gets more in that cup than you, then she no longer has a relationship with you. She's got a relationship with the enemy.
And that's that emotion thing that he just spoke about.
Right. And once that cup gets full, now you become the person that she's cheating with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's how, you know what? It's funny because she mentioned that one time and I missed it. Just blind, just unconscious to hearing, but not listening, but not hearing it. I remember when she said she felt empty. And we go to church filled with the Holy Spirit. And I'm like, okay, let's go to church.
So you ain't paying attention, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I just, you know, and so it was so interesting.
Go to church.
Okay, let's get you a coach.
I can solve this for the coach.
You know, I'm a coach. I said, look, I'm a coach. I help people. Let's get you a coach. we got her, Cheryl Burton. You know, Cheryl Burton called and said, I can't help you. She gave out money. Said, because she had a hole in her. We both, I think someone said it earlier, Johnson said it. Looking back also, I had to own that I had unconsciously brought brokenness into my relationship. Mm-hmm. Brokenness, that it was trauma that I didn't know that I had in my life, that I unconsciously took into the relationship. And so you got two broken people who really truly love each other. I mean, literally no arguments. I mean, everything we touched told to go. I mean, but we were broken. And one thing about it is that your car now, if you drive a broken car long enough, it's gonna run out of gas. And our relationship just ran out of gas because I quit feeding that emotion, and what don't feed dies. And I was then, my mind started wondering and saying, okay, is she starting to get interest elsewhere because I'm not feeding that emotional part? And so the Johnsons, I really resonate with what they said, not from a physical standpoint, but from an emotional standpoint. I know that I got to take ownership of, I allowed my relationship to be exposed because I wasn't there emotionally. I had my priorities messed up. I was spending a lot of time working on the business, growing the business. But to be fair, that we had to talk about it. That was our goal. But once again, we didn't calibrate. Very important. Shawn and I, we got a processes now we call touch points. You know, we got these speed bumps that we have in our relationship. One is called touch points. Hey, you need a touch point, babe? You know, because we have, did you get bad? Hey, you need a touch point. You know, also when we first dating, we had these long, deep talks. And we just say, we got to have heart surgery. See, I wasn't doing all this before. So now, I mean, I'm rolling my sleeves up. I'm fully engaged. You know what I'm saying? So it's it is very, very interesting. But the fruit of that is, another thing I want to say this is that I learned too, and I'll let you talk, please, that I had to die. Very important. That I didn't want to die at first, and I didn't know it. See, I believe this, that a marriage certificate likens itself to a death certificate. Because two people get together and said, in order for us to become one, we both have to die. And I know my first relationship, I didn't want to die because I thought I had a good family, I had a good optic, good upbringing, good garden. But that wasn't true because I was fellowship with someone who had a different garden. Yeah. And so I had to die. And so in this relationship now, we made a commitment to die daily. And so I still don't like dying, I ain't gonna lie. But
who likes dying? It's painful.
That's why marriage is so on the rise though. And that's why divorce is so high, because people don't want to die. But I can tell you, and I say this sincerely, is that death, every time I die, it adds fertilizer to my marriage.
Yes, yes.
Because my wife feel more fulfilled, fortified. And so that brings me joy now. At first, I was unconscious to it. So that first marriage made me more focused and conscious on the small things, and just always sowing seeds in that garden and pulling out weeds. And it's a constant process.
Hey, Deshawn, what are some of the things that you didn't do in your first marriage that you do now that you wish you would have known back then as well?
I think the main thing is communication.
Wow.
In my previous marriage, I was not big on communication. First, I didn't know how to communicate. And Ken has helped me a lot with that, you know, and sharing my feelings. I've always felt as though if I share my feelings, I don't want him to get mad. I don't want him to start screaming and hollering, because that's what I saw my parents do. If my mother ever raised an issue with my father, he always, God dog it, you know, just screaming and ranting and raving. I don't want that. You know, so I'm not going to raise any issues. We're just going to fly above it. Yeah. All the while it was hurting me inside, while my husband is thinking I'm good, but he wasn't. Wow. Because I didn't say anything. He didn't know. So he just continued to operate the way he was operating. And all the while I was constantly being pushed further and further down because my voice was gone. I didn't have a voice. So now with Ken, we did marital counseling before we got married. Yeah. And the one thing that they said that we really stand on to this day is because Ken is a communicator. If you didn't know, Ken is a communicator. He's very passionate when he's speaking. And so I had to learn that that's Ken, but Ken had to also understand where I came from. And in order for me to stand up and talk to him, he had to sit down.
Wow.
And that was so challenging for him because he is a big personality. You know, he's Ken Brown, you know, he just communicates. And when we first started dating, his voice, it carries. Like I said, he's very passionate. And I looked at it as though he was hollering at me. And I'm like, whoa, bro, hold on now. Who you talking to? You know, you ain't gonna be screaming at me. You know, like, I'm not screaming at you. I'm just talking. I'm like, well, bring it down a few octaves because I'm feeling like you screaming. And if you want me to have a conversation with you, I'm gonna need you to bring it down some because right now you're making the wall go up.
Yeah.
And so it took us a long time to get past that and for me to really express myself and not be concerned with how Ken would take it.
Yeah.
For a long time. Like I said, I was just so used to that, hearing someone share, well, but my mother and father, she'd be like, well, Bernard, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he would just go off. And I was like, I don't ever want to experience that. So I'm gonna act as though everything is okay. And I think that really hurt in my former relationship because my husband didn't know. Like I said, he just thought that, hey, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. He was a great provider, great dad, just doing what he knew to do, but just wasn't tapping in to say, okay, something's not right. Because I know she can't be okay with everything that's going on.
Wow.
I'm missing it somewhere. I know I can't just be thebomb.com. Something's going on.
I think that's the issue to speak on or to talk on because a lot of people come into relationships, they don't even know that they're broken. They don't even know that they have a problem. It's a subconscious problem that they come into relationships with, but they can't figure out why things aren't going right, and they always blame the other person because they think that they're perfect.
Right.
I mean, and most people that even come into marriage came from broken homes anyway. So they never had a role model or a good figure to gauge their marriage by, or anybody they could even really just go talk to. You know what I mean? Like me growing up, my grandparents slept in separate rooms.
Wow.
When my mother and them was kids, you know what I'm saying? So all the way up, but they stayed married for almost 70 years.
Wow.
You know,
I don't know what kind of marriage that is.
But my mother had 9 brothers and sisters too. You know
Somebody was going to somebody's room.
You know what I mean? But as far as I can remember, you know what I mean? They both slept in separate rooms.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if I gauge that as our relationship, my wife would be sleeping in the guest room right now.
No, it would never happen. I'm not going nowhere. We gonna sleep in the same bed, period.
But like Ken said, we both had to die and be reborn.
That's huge. Everything. But you know, it's interesting. Like we talk about most things are not taught; they're caught. You know, even like we talked about earlier, how even when we got married, I had this old ideology about blended marriages. And that really almost hurt our relationship because that was my non-negotiable. First of all, we don't cheat, we don't do infidelity at all. We talked about that was something we wouldn't talk about divorce. That wouldn't be an option. But then, you know, the other thing that we talked about was the blended families. My mother and father started having babies at 13 to 14 years old. So by the age of 20, they had 5 kids. And my mother and father, my mother today is 70 years old and she never remarried. My father died at 57, never remarried. I took that as a badge of honor and tried to bring it. I wanted to be married, my first wife, 1 child. But then when I met Shawn, I was a single father, had 3 boys. She had a son. I insulted her at first, didn't know it. I told her, your son don't need to know me. I need to be Casper to him. I thought I was trying to protect him because he had a father that he saw on the weekends. I had my sons living with me. I didn't really want to introduce my sons to Shawn because they were still hurting and healing because of divorce. We were trying to navigate this and to introduce someone. And so that we try to navigate through that. And that caused a little bit of tension because I think Shawn took it as that I didn't want I didn't love her. I didn't love her son. And it wasn't the case. But it is so interesting that we on the phone with the Johnsons, and I don't think they know this, but one day Shawn asked me to go to this counseling session over somebody's house to eat.
It was a gathering.
A gathering. And so, a gathering. That's what she tricked me at a gathering. And it's summertime, went over there, and we went there, and it was the Johnson's house. And it was ironic because it was all couples, Christian couples of blended marriages. I was lit. I was so mad. I was like, oh my goodness.
That's a good wife. That's a good wife that set you up.
I was being hijacked, you know. And so we got there, and it was so interesting. But I had this wall up, and we broke bread, and they started teaching, and they went around, and they gave these beautiful scenarios, real life scenarios, and we got to really interject. And that flushed out some things in me, and I had a real. And it's to have brothers. The Bible says iron sharpens iron as one man to another. To have these brothers, and I always believe too, never take a lesson from a coach who never played the game. To have these brothers who, first of all, love the Lord was very important to me.
Mm-hmm.
Also had experience in something I didn't have experience in, and to look in my face and say, brother, just relax, be patient,
Mm-hmm.
embrace it. And on the other side of it, it's going to bring you pure joy.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't say I had one of them light bulb moments. I'm like, okay, bro, y'all been drinking the Kool-Aid. No, this is like a Coke, y'all got a blended.
Right.
I ain't doing no Jim Jones here, baby. I didn't got that. So, but on the drive home, I got convicted because I'm always open and my heart is, I was yearning. I love this young, I love her so much. And I'm telling you, within 2 or 3 days, I was dead again.
Wow.
That died in me. The way I look, you better not ever call Mark Allen my stepson. He is my son, point blank, period.
Mm.
I didn't have that. At first, I didn't have, before I went to the Johnson's house for that meeting, that encounter, I didn't have that mentality. I was like, oh, no, hell to the no. Ain't gonna do it.
So
But-
you're saying that you felt that even in marriage or when you guys were dating?
Period. I just thought my mind was just whacked
You're
about
just
it.
gonna keep him separate for the whole thing.
I already had my package already. I'm just saying. I mean, I had a plan and a vision, and it wasn't a part of it. I think a part of it was too is that I was emotionally and mentally holding on to my old marriage, so to speak, the whole family, not the marriage, but the concept.
Family dynamic.
And can I be honest with you? A lot of it was pride too. That I felt like I was embarrassed to say, here I am, a pillar in the community when it comes to business. I'm a private, my mom used to always tell me, Ken, you failed. You are a public success and a private failure. That ate me up inside.
Mm.
So I didn't want to then come, everybody knew my family, then I come up with this blended family. And then to be totally transparent, I didn't have a way, I didn't know how to navigate through that because I've always saw my mother and father together. They wasn't married anymore, but they were always together. Graduations, funerals, bar mitzvahs, everything, they were still there. So I didn't have a framework of how to blend the family. And so, but that one encounter I had at the Johnson's house, because my heart, one thing I want to say too is that divorce sometimes can harden your heart.
Mm.
Infidelity can harden your heart. I thank God that my heart wasn't hardened because I was able to heed to those gentlemen planted a seed in my heart and in my mind, and it was able to take root. And it was it changed the way I look at our relationship, how I mean, it's just powerful. And so, yeah, that was a strain that was not because Shawn used to go crazy.
Yes, that was a huge strain. And one of the things that really helped me to understand was Ken would say, I don't have a frame of reference for that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that helped me because I felt as though you were rejecting my son.
Wow.
If
Right.
you
Absolutely. Because when I heard him say it, I'm like, what you talking about?
Yeah, well, that's what it sounds like too, you know. But one of the things that my wife had mentioned one time, when our oldest son was kind of being a little rebellious, right? And she felt like we kind of failed a little bit as parents. But then she got a revelation from God that, you know, Adam failed me too. You know what I mean?
My first 2 children.
And
Wow.
one of the things I wanted to just say while we're on this video chat to people that are listening is that failure is not final.
Mm.
So even when you feel like you failed in some areas of your life, you know what I mean, you can make a change. And I think it's a powerful story that you have, even being afraid to do the blended family thing, and to turn around and just, you know, out of one meeting, you be open to embracing it. And that brings you much more happiness and peace in your household than you ever would have had trying to do it the way you intentionally or initially was going to do it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? With the separation thing. You know, I mean, I don't know if he was going to stay on one side of the house and y'all going to stay on the other.
No, I'm going to do though, actually in my mind, you know, and I feel, and I ain't embarrassed about it, but it's, you know, the Bible says, no, don't be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be ye transformed by renewing your mind.
Right.
That's a powerful word because my mind got renewed. I mean, in my mind, I was going to do everything separately.
Mm-hmm.
I would go, my boys, we got married, my boys, I would go pick them up. They wouldn't really come home for dinner. I mean, it was just a warped thought processes, but it wasn't nothing to be pretentious or evil. It was, I did not have a blueprint. I did not know how to blend a family successfully, but God showed me, you are the light. You ought to be a role model. You know,
Ken,
so
let's I'm sorry, Ken. I want, because sometimes, you know, as a speaker, sometimes people, they're listening to you, and I hear you saying that, there was a time you didn't know how to do the blended family thing, and now you do, right?
Yeah.
So give us some key points, like some things that you definitely need to put this as a staple. As if you're a blended family, you must do this and you must never do this. Can you tell us some of those things so that the people that's on this call right now, because we had a blended family last week on the call who was having some problems. So tell us what are some boundaries, some things that you put into play for both of you that you say, we had to do this and we found out this was a no-no, and this, we definitely added this because this helped.
And I think what she's speaking on too is that I'm pretty sure your wife's still a part of your kid's life, as well as her husband's a part of her kid's life. How do you set boundaries as it relates to your inner household? Because a couple last week, the child would go back to the mom and tell the mom about things that were going on in their household. And then the mom would try to interject in what was going on in their household.
Yeah, that's a good point. I can tell you honestly, at first I was so hurt about my divorce that my communication with my ex-wife was kind of, was through my boys. Well, they got older. They started, well, first, to be honest, she got remarried. That caused a little bit of challenge because he wanted to be an alpha male. And so that, you know how they go, right? He wanted to be on his chest. So that caused a little bit of a communication. So once again, I had to lead from the back. I had to operate from the understanding that that's not my wife anymore. That is that man's wife. And I need to make sure that I be an example for my sons to make sure that I respect that. It wasn't always easy. It was a couple conversations. Guess I did too. I took the high road. Instead of giving him a Chicago beat down, I had to block his calls. Because a couple of times he called me and told me, don't come to his house to pick up my boys. Let him come meet him at Subway. Are you serious, Bobo? So guess what I did? I drove up to the house and blew the horn. Bub, come on out, fellas. You had to go through that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So the thing that you want, the one thing that you don't do that. In hindsight, you respect the other person's household. Right. And I think the one thing too that I would say, the must thing you do is you must sit down with your spouse and manage expectations. Mm-hmm. I think another thing you need to do is you need to make sure that that line of communication is open between the other spouses, because you do have a child in the midst. And at the end of the day, it's not about us, it's about creating a healthy relationship with that child. That's another factor dying. Right. We had to die because I had my pride, my ego had to die for that. And so I think those are huge points that you got to keep the line of communications open with the other person. I mean, I think we've been married for 4 years, and Deshawn has only met my ex-wife one time, and I was at my son's graduation dinner. And that was it was pretty easy. Was you uncomfortable with that?
No. I mean, initially it was like, I gotta meet their mom. Okay.
Yeah. No, after 4 years though, right? Right. We just make sure we respect that and let it happen organically, then try to force it. That's another thing. Don't force it. Trust the process. Mm-hmm. Now my ex-wife called, when we talk, hey, how's your wife? How's your family? Blessings. Blessings to yours too. And we sincerely mean it. Right. At first I was like, curses on you and your family and your you grow.
You cursed everybody up.
So you have to keep the lines of communication open. And then I can't say it enough. Die, because God is doing a new thing. Period. So that was a thing for me. I know it's about death a lot. I don't mean die of physical death, dying of your own needs. And that's what makes the relationship so strong, marriage so strong, is that we always talk about how, non-negotiable, because, hey, if we made a choice to be with each other, anything else is gluttony, and having those real conversations. So communicate, leaving all lines of communication open and managing expectations. Like the wife, Shawn don't like sometimes when she honest about it. Because when we were married, we go out, I would pay for stuff. And now she'll say, hey, she gonna contribute? And so that's managing expectations. So now when I go, at first I didn't take it seriously, but now going into it, I respect managing expectations, Hey, now when I call, hey, look, we having this party. Okay. Now she knows she's been conditioned now to say, okay, I'll contribute, so forth and so on. But before I was like, you gonna accept it, work it out. That's a no. Don't do that. Communicate, be open, and just trust the process. That's all. It's something new. I have the blueprint. Now I can really, really, really help people with it and it's a wonderful thing. I don't see it as blended. This is just our family. We got 4 boys, not 3 boys. And it has been an amazing, amazing experience. Not at first.
How do they get along? How do the boys get along?
They get along great.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like brothers, Of course, the oldest one, he just came back from out of town. He's 24. The middle son, he's 21. In Chicago, 21. And then the youngest is 18. He's getting ready to graduate high school. So we don't see them all at the same time.
I got grown boys.
Yeah. But when they're here, they have a great time. They're, loving on each other.
So it's great. I just heard 3 ages. What's the other age?
So we got 24, 21, 18, and then we have 13.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you this, because this is something that I have I've shared with many people who have a blended family, and I always remind them of this, that your children have 2 parents.
Wow.
They have 2 parents, and when you get a blended family, they now have 4 parents, really. But understand that their blood mother and their blood father is who they are.
Yeah.
And understanding that and respecting that, making sure that you never talk evil about their mother or about their father in front of them. I don't care how you feel. I don't care where your emotions are. As an adult, you have to control your attitude and do not let those kids hear you talking about their mother or their father. What would you guys say about that?
I would say you hit the nail on the head. I've never done that, because I feel as though I didn't like it when it was done to me. When my parents got a divorce and my mother shared why, and for the most part, I saw a lot of the why, they got a divorce because of, violence. And so I said, you know what, I don't want to do that to my son, because he is still in relationship with him. Even if he wasn't, I still wouldn't say your dad was A, B, C, and D, because that's still his father. And I just felt like that was such the wrong thing to do. Now he'll inquire now as he gets older. He's like, well, Mom, why did you and Dad, why did y'all get a divorce? And I say, son, it just didn't work out. I think you need to talk to your dad about it and, find out why, because for reasons, I don't want to get into all his business.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, you need to talk to your dad about that.
Get in that business, man. Come on. Put them dimes. I bought a roll of dimes, y'all. Drop it. Come on, y'all.
Well, we know studies have shown that kids are dramatically affected by divorce, and many children take that into their adulthood. And they've showed the study. I saw a documentary of grown men who are married, grown women who are married in their late 20s, in their 30s, still affected by their parents' divorce.
Yeah.
And so it
that toy.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I'm hopeful that this will bless some of the women that are on here. You are absolutely right. I went into my first marriage with a lot of pain, hurt, despair. I just felt such a sense of rejection. And so as I was dating men, I always allowed men into my space who seemed to gravitate to me. If they thought that I was pretty, if they thought that I was shapely, if they thought that I was funny, whatever they thought about me, that made me feel wanted by them.
He thought all of it, look.
When I was younger and I didn't know, I wasn't really into what I really wanted in a mate. I was just out dating. Your mother doesn't sit down now. You need to have a guy who does this. Now, my grandmother did that later in life. But as I was growing up, my mother was out of the home more so working. And so I had to kind of figure things out on my own. But what I did know is that I felt a sense of rejection. And so any man who accepted me, I accepted them.
Wow.
And so I had to work on me before I married Ken, because I did not want to go into this marriage doing the same thing that I did in my previous marriage. I had to own up to my part in it. As you said, what did you do? Where did you miss it? And I missed it because my self-esteem was shot. I felt as though I was so rejected and that I wanted someone to love me so desperately that I allowed anyone into my space. And so I said, I didn't date my husband very long at all. We met in November, got engaged in March, and were married in June.
That's 6 months worth of count, y'all.
That was quick. That was quick. That was quick.
Very quick. But to that point, he was a great guy, but I should have allowed more time to get to know him as I did with Ken. But the space, the headspace that I was in at the time said, do it. He wants you. He wants to marry you. He's pursuing you. He's a great guy. Do it. And I should have pumped the brakes and said no, but I didn't know that because my self-esteem was so low. I was willing to take whoever, step to the plate. And I knew that I couldn't do that with Ken because it would not have helped me as a person. And I had to grow through that, get help, and say, okay, Dershawn, why are you just allowing anyone in your space because you want to be wanted? Wow. And once I decided and said, you're valuable, and that's where the whole You Are the Gift movement came from. I said, I need to give back where I lacked. I lacked self-esteem and confidence. I want to make sure that these girls know that without a shadow of a doubt that they are valuable, that they are the gift. But that came from me growing up not feeling as though I was the gift. I felt like, well, if my dad don't want me, well, who, what good am I?
That's where we get validation from. Let me say this. Let me say this, that for all of those who are watching, Dershawn has an agency called His Agency. She does an event every year, and she works with this organization all throughout the year, where she helped young girls. And as you were talking, my mind, before you even said it, I said, this is why she does this, because she didn't have self-esteem. And so she want to make sure that she makes sure that other young girls do not grow up without that self-esteem. And she's called me in. I spoke several times at her event. Let me tell you, absolutely amazing. These girls are anywhere from 13 to 16 years old, and they are hungry. Every time I come, there is a hunger and a thirst in the room. And she has been building these young girls up for years. And I just want to give you an applause for doing the work that you do for these young girls, because it's needed. And I'm gonna tell you this, that I knew both Ken and Dershawn separately before they got married. When I heard that you guys were dating, can I just tell you, because I never told you, I said, yup, that's good. I was like, yes, this is going to be good, because I knew her and I knew you, not as deep and personal, but I just knew of you. And I said, this is good stuff here. This is going to be a good match. I just felt so good about it, and I was excited for both of you, because I know that you guys have both been through some things with your previous marriages and things of that sort. And even not me knowing your personal stuff, the hands-on, not me even knowing too much. I just know marriage, and I know the pain that comes from it. And divorce, I couldn't even imagine. We almost divorced about 20 or 30 times. And even just the thought, about 50 times, but even just the thought of divorce during those times, it was horrible. I'm so thankful to God that we didn't go through it. So I was thankful to see you guys together. But listen, we got a lot of questions, and I want to make sure that Tanita, Jermaine, and Tamita are unmuted. I see that they are unmuted. So we're going to take these questions. I'm going to have Jasmine.
Real quick
I'm sorry, Jasmine. 1 second. My husband
Before we
wants
take
to say
those
something.
questions, I just feel led to say that there's an underlying message in what we're talking about, as well as it relates to our kids and raising our kids and the responsibility that we have as parents. We don't realize that a lot of times when we think that we think just because we put a roof over their heads, just because we feed them and put clothes on their back, that they're taken care of. And we don't think about the mental that they see every day and what we're showing them. Like, I grew up, my parents always said, my grandparents, my uncles and all of them say, don't do as I do as I say. But we do what we see. So like you say, you saw your father yelling and screaming all the time. So that actually didn't allow you to voice your opinion when you were married and this, that, and the other. And so I just want everybody on this call to realize and know that if you're raising kids, that you got to be careful of your actions in front of those kids, And you got to know that sometimes you can be hurting them and you don't realize that you're hurting them just by some of the things that you're doing, okay?
To their mother or to their father.
Or saying to their mother or their father or treating their mother and father. I'm telling you, my grandmother was a straight up pistol. The first time my grandmother met her mother, you know what I said? She threw me a surprise birthday party. We had just met probably about a year, right?
Yep, it was a year.
I told her mother, I said, my grandmother's probably gonna cuss you out, all right? But don't take it personal. Right?
How you gonna tell my mama that your grandmama gonna cuss her out?
Don't take
her house.
I said, but don't take it personal, all right? Don't pay no attention. Her mother loved me so much.
My mother loves him.
That, like I said, my grandmother cussed her out. And she just laughed and played it off. And all she did was come in the house. Wow. My grandmother said, where the hell you been? And once she got ready to talk, shut up. It just went straight off. You know?
She had been drinking.
She had been drinking and stuff. It's like my grandmother, the first time I hung out all night was with my grandmother. She took me to all the after-hour joints with the Mayor Blackwell and Coleman Young and all them. You know, we hung out all night. We came in the morning at 10 o'clock.
But see, here's why that worked for my mother and it didn't offend my mother. My mother ran her own club. She dealt with people who were drunk and people his grandmother's age all the time. So one, he prepped her. And then two, my mother already worked with people like that. My mother is a very y'all see me cooking? That all comes from my mama. My customer service, like when I saw Ken with his customer service, I used to work for restaurants. I used to train in customer service. That's why I recognize his customer service. That comes from my mother. And so my mother has a gifting of, she has the ability to ignore respectfully and still love you. And so that's why she was able to deal with that. Yeah. But that's those families, you know, bucking heads at each other. But,
you know, and Ken, listen, I remember that day she came home and said, you know, that McDonald's around the corner, I met the owner. He is really, really cool. He gave me fries and everything and didn't even charge me. I said, you see all these kids running around here? Why you telling you want some hamburgers and some chicken?
Why did you bring some Big Macs around here? You should have told them you wanted this, you wanted that.
Don't make around there telling me mad again.
Tell them not to shake was a little too loose. Okay, let's get these questions going on in. Jasmine, go ahead.
All right, I have a lot of questions, so you have to be patient. I'm paraphrasing the questions I'm getting in the box. So if you have an additional comment that you want to add to your questions and you don't want to be anonymous, feel free to unmute yourself and let us know if you want to elaborate. Please reserve your comments to only 5 minutes because we want to get through this and be mindful of time. The first question is, I'm going to direct it to each couple. To the Johnsons, was telling the truth of cheating better than the imaginative thoughts, or in hindsight, do you wish you did not know the details of the affair?
I would say I would want to know the details. I'd rather the imagination, because your imagination is going to run rampant, but you always got that feeling of, okay, that's probably most likely not true. At least you have that to fall back on. When you know that is true, it's not a good feeling. And I say that's my personal experience, but I'm speaking from experience though. So
yeah, and I would say I've asked him before, would it have been worse if you found out years later that this happened? And he told me, yeah, it would have been worse if I found out from a third party
absolutely.
That you've been holding this secret and you just went on like nothing was wrong. I also asked for details, and I would say I was like Shawn, so it kind of shot me in the foot. If you have low self-esteem, it's always the comparison. Well, did she do this? How did she do that? How does she look? I really wasn't intimidated by like her career and like her job and like her status. Neither one of us hooked up with somebody who had the capability to quote unquote. Hold on.
Yeah, well, hold on.
As I was saying before rudely interrupted. Let's be clear. Neither one of us hooked up with anybody who was a step up. They were both a step down.
She was a manager at Taco Bell.
She was a manager at Taco Bell.
Hey, Jermaine, does that mean you ran for the border?
All right.
I am a whole beast by myself. Don't put a team with me. You go and get a manager of Taco Bell. Yeah.
All right, that's right. I have a question for all the couples. I'm going to give you each an opportunity to address this. How do you take divorce off the table?
I can tell you that easy. You stop it. It's when it's not an option, it's not out. It's like this. If you're planning a vacation and you only got $100 in your pocket, you know Hawaii is not an option. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's off the table. It's as simple as that. It's a mindset. And that's as simple as that. If you know that you can't go get a, it's just like now, you know you can't leave the house. You know you can't go sit down at J. Alexander's and have some you if that's not an option, you make other plans. When it's not an option, we're human. We have an instinct to survive. If you know that's not an option, you find another way to make it work. And that's what I say. And I would honestly say, unless it's where you are not safe, this divorce should not be an option.
But also too, we had to stop saying it because we said it a lot. Like we said, I'm leaving, I'm done. We may not have said the word divorce, but it was I'm leaving, I'm done, I'm through. Saying all of that, you give seed to the enemy, and it just grows over the course of years, which led up to the affair. Our affair wasn't at year 2; it was at year 10. We were 10 years in, and the affair came along.
And it's a process. Like you say, it's not an overnight thing. It's the first thing you stop saying it, and then as you stop saying it, you just keep going on. And even if you slip up, you just keep going. It's like quitting cigarettes. You don't quit quitting. Just keep going.
I would say I want to add to that. Sometimes our kids ask us some crazy questions, right? Kids just come up with silly stuff. So they'll ask a question like this. I love peach cobbler, right? They said, Mom, if someone paid you $1 million to eat peach cobbler with urine in it or poop in it, which one you would do? And I said, I'm not doing neither one. It's not an option for me. Going back to what the Johnson says, it's not an option. Divorce, listen, I already told him, I don't want to do this no more. I mean, listen, unless you die, okay, then I'm forced to do it, okay? But I'm not trying, 29 years I've been with this man. That's too much training. That's too much investing. Him training me training him. I know his pluses and his negatives. I know his goods and his bads. I like his goods and his bads. I've adjusted my life to him. I'm not trying to do this again. And I realize that most and majority of all the problems that we face, there is a solution to it. The question is are we committed to operating in the solution? I'm committed to this man. I'm committed to serving him, honoring him, respecting him. And anytime that I even feel, he doesn't have to check me. I have the Holy Spirit living inside of me who corrects me all the time, even before it slips out my mouth. I've made a commitment that not only divorce is not an option, dishonoring him is not an option. It's just not an option for me. And listen, that has not always been on the plate in our marriage, because early on in those first 10 years, it was challenging. But once God taught me how to do this thing and showed me that his word works, I never thought marriage could be this good. Even when it's bad, it's good. We do aggravate each other sometimes. We get on each other's nerve. Well, guess what you got to do? Go and take a time out, and refocus, and you'll get over it.
Plus, it gets better. When we first met, she couldn't boil rice, right? But she made some smothered chicken yesterday.
Uh-oh.
Man.
Falling off the bones, baby. Even my son was like, Mom.
That chicken.
I'm like, it's chicken, y'all. No, that chicken, Mom. I don't know what we think this is now y'all know how, anybody that watch my videos, y'all know I cook a lot.
She gets down. See, when I first met her and we started dating and we moved in together and all that kind of stuff, I was saying, Lord, come on now. My grandmother was like Big Mom, okay, with the handkerchief wrapped around her head to make a full meal out of cornmeal and some, look at the camera, ain't nothing in there but a can of cornmeal, and she make a whole breakfast out of it. That's the kind of grandmother I had. I mean, to get that good old. The first time I fried some fish, it dispersed in the grease into a million different pieces. Dying, like, what you cooking? But it's the difference between soul food and Southern food. You know what I mean? And so, you know, like when you go to the South and they say it's soul food, it's just regular food. But when your grandmama cook them spices and all that in the food, it's a whole difference. But, you know, the Lord has truly blessed me. Right?
Because I decided to learn and not give. I decided to learn. I was least likely to have the amount of kids that I have. I'm in the middle of 5 children, and I worked starting at 14 years old. Yes, we had to cut all of the stuff up in the kitchen, but I wasn't cooking it. So once we got together, I started to call all the grandmamas, his grandmama, my mama, everybody, and I learned how to cook.
And I just say that to say that the way your marriage starts out, it can grow into something beautiful, right? Like right now, we in cruise control. So the little stuff that we have problems with and the little bumps, like she said, the Holy Spirit lives in both of us. So if we're wrong, we'll get tested all day long. The Holy Spirit be like, you know you're wrong.
Messing with you.
You know you need to get on the phone and call and say you sorry. You know you need to do this. You need to, and you even if you try to say, well, she did it, man.
We had a little spat over the weekend. It was so silly. We finally looked at each other and was like,
there's a whole thing. And I was like, what we arguing about?
Right, stupid stuff. But go ahead. I wanted the Browns to answer that question as well, as it relates to divorce. So
I think you all nailed it. What in those hard conversations we had the opportunity to really date almost for 6 months. We call it an interview, and we talked about that. We had these non-negotiables, and of course, by us both of us went through a divorce, didn't really want the first divorce, so we committed. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that commitment is the line you draw between wishing and doing. And so you just got to commit that this is it. And I know we did. You agree?
Absolutely.
We did. We never said that word, haven't thought about it, because like you said, going through it is not a pretty process.
No.
And yeah, so it's be committed to it. Make sure because the power, life, and death is in the tongue. So if you don't say it, you don't put the ball in play.
Right.
And yeah, so we just don't say it, and we committed to making this thing work, come hell or high water.
Yeah.
Perfect. I have a couple questions that have come over specific to just the men. Men, this is a question asking for advice. It's coming from the wife, but she wants to know advice for navigating working with a workaholic husband who's losing focus on staying connected to his wife and children. His focus is primarily on working towards bigger and better. Now there's a concern that he'll be in a bigger, better house alone.
That sounds like a threat.
Yeah, did.
Or a forewarning or a warning. She's just trying to warn him, like, listen, I'm not doing well.
She says for me.
Okay, go ahead. I didn't answer it. I'm just expounding on how she's feeling. I
mean, that's a perfect question for Ken, because Ken just touched on that. Was one of the problems he had in his.
Yeah, I wish I could talk to that brother. I could talk to her. Just support. I know you probably supporting them already. Support them, but for your own sake, for your family's sake, have that tough conversation. Talk to them first about adding you to the calendar. That's the first process we did. If you're a workaholic, you probably detail-oriented, got a work calendar. First thing is ask him to put family on the calendar. Hopefully he get that as a cue. I can't tell you that I first got the cue, but keep saying it. Continue to have conversations with him. Secondly, get help. Like I talked about the Johnson's house. Take him, go get some support. You have to have a support system around you. Don't let it sink by yourself, because it's bigger than you. Because think about it. We grew up saying that you're not a man unless you take care of your family. Some of us don't know how to have that healthy balance. It's really, really a hard balance, especially if, I don't know if it's the case, but if the lady don't have to go out and work, period, don't contribute, then in our mind sometimes he's probably thinking that he's doing a stellar job as a man because he's providing. But like I stated, that on the other side of that, he's probably missing the boat emotionally, be emotionally involved. Sometimes as men, we have this we wired through as we could be present but not really present. That might be the case. And so I guess you have to keep leaning in, go sit down with him, hold his hand, look in his eyes, talk to him, tell him you're hurting, tell him you need him. Don't make it an alternative. The one thing you don't want to build walls, you want to build bridges. So if you go to him, give him ultimatums, he might get defensive. I would say go to him and say, I'm hurting. I feel like I'm losing my husband. And then my wife told me, we don't want your presence stuff, the accoutrement, We want your presence. They sow the seed. They kept sowing those seeds. And as you sow the right seeds, it's going to cultivate. And so, lastly, get help. That's my point. Get some, call in some reserves, some men, other men, to talk to them, not particularly about it, but just how to navigate it, because maybe he don't know how to actually do the work thing and the family thing, because we don't have that blueprint. So he's probably doing the best he can, not an excuse, but just be totally transparent to him. And hopefully, I know you probably have, but just continue to do that.
And only thing I would probably say is, I don't know if his job is his purpose, right? And I don't know what his upbringing was like. Did they struggle as a family when he grew up? Did they get evicted a lot, or did they not eat a lot? Different things like that. So sometimes as a man, you want to make sure you don't have those same type of situations for your family. Now, I know with me, with my wife not having to work, I know with me having to pay for everything and be the breadwinner, that I have not only to support her better life business and different things like that, but also I know that I like to know what's coming, and I call it weathering the storm. So if I know I got a bill I got to pay in 2 weeks, or I know if I got a bill I got to pay in a month or whatever, I know I got to make the money. I got to have the money to pay for that bill. So he may feel the same way if he's got to pay for all these different bills and he's got to work to do it. So what I would probably say is she can help him with that too. You know what I mean? I don't know if he's self-employed or if he works at Chrysler or Ford or something like that, but she can kind of interject herself into his life. If she works at the plant, they get an hour lunch, go spend time with him on his lunch break. You know what I mean? Different things like that. Talk to him and see how you can help him make his day better. What can you do to make it easier for him? Just things like that, and see if you can kind of interject yourself into his life, into his world, because he's gone pretty much all day if he's a workaholic too. And then for me, we have parameters, right? So like our kids all play AAU basketball, they all gym rats and stuff like that. We got 3 boys in college. So I made it just like you guys say, hey, divorce is not an option. For me to miss their basketball games and different things like that was not an option for me, right? I had to be there to support them because I didn't have that coming up. My father was never in none of my sporting events, you know what I mean? So I made sure I was at theirs. So it's just things like that you got to look at and see what the root of it is. Why does he feel he has to work so hard and so much to give you, the things that he think is important? Let him know what's really important to you.
That's good. Men, hold tight. We have another one, but this question is coming from a man. How can me as a husband become more available emotionally? Coming from a family with pain and dysfunction, I felt certain things my wife requires I was not taught.
That's another one too. That's a big one, because as a man, right, me growing up, the only affection that I really got is from your woman or like a female in the family. Like I knew my father loved me. I knew my uncles loved me, stuff like that, but they never used the words like, I love you. You know what I mean? You just knew that they loved you, but they always taught you to be a man. You don't cry. So
what can we do?
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, Dan.
Can I finish?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm talking about?
No, we have 12 more minutes.
Okay.
We have 12 minutes. That's why we got to be quick.
So, I mean, some of the things he can do is, like Ken say, he has to kind of die again. You know what I mean? And be born again and learn how to love and seek wise counsel on things to do and how to, give that love back to his family.
Anybody else have an answer to that? Go ahead.
And I'll say it real quick. He said exactly, get help, because we weren't taught, and if you weren't taught, someone has to teach you. And the way to do it is things like this, getting around other like brothers with like-minded, whether it's other married couples or whatever the case might be, where you can see it and you can learn it, but get help. You cannot do it if you've never seen it before. And I'll say that to the wives, when you eat with the one before, if he's never seen it, he don't know. So the only way you can see it is talk to somebody and get around other brothers like that. That's doing what you want.
Yeah, I want to say I applaud him. I think he's doing the right thing because he's here leaning in, and he did one thing. He understands that he needs. He's deficient in that area, and so just continue to be aware of that and surround yourself with, because you can't be what you can't see. So continue to surround yourself with relationships that do look like you aspire to be, and then you'll learn that you'll kind of create your own blueprint. That's so fundamentally he has to create his own blueprint because he said he hadn't seen it. But just don't give up, brother. Just don't give up. That's the bottom line.
And I have one more. Tell your wife to teach you. Women know how to do it.
That's good.
Ask your wife to teach you.
I was just about to say that that we are actually trying to tell you. We're actually we know men sometimes have a problem with us telling them something. So we try to find a way to go around it. But then you guys tell us to tell you straight, but then we tell you straight, then you say, oh, I don't need you to tell me. So we're confused, right? So here's some things that I know as a woman that all of us want. I teach this thing, okay? The number one need of a woman is love and affection. You have to find out, how do your wife receives affection? Is it touch? Is it gifts? Is it words of affection? And it might be multiple things of that sort. Like I told my husband, don't buy me flowers. I like chocolate covered strawberries.
She'll kill a plastic plant.
You don't.
I'm sorry.
You don't ever have to worry about trying to figure out what I want for my birthday. Put me money on a card and I'll act as if it's new every single solitary time. I just want you to remember to give me the card, okay? Put me a substantial amount of money that makes me smile. Don't put $25 on there, I'll be upset, right? So the other thing that women love is we love attention. We want to know that you're thinking of us. It could be a text. It could be a face, call in the middle of the day, say, hey, girl, turn around, girl. Just cute little that stuff that y'all think is corny, like The Notebook and all of that stuff, the movie The Notebook. We melt. We call our friends and brag about that little stuff, even just coming behind her. Like my husband came behind me one day while I was watching dishes, kissed me on my neck and was like, man, girl, I've been with you all these years, but I'm so glad that God blessed me with you. It's small nuggets that you just planting in her that's going to change and transform her, because this was a problem early in our marriage. My husband was not giving me the affection that I desired. And when I gave that thing to God and asked God to help him, then that helped turn around. Here's the other thing I want to say to the couple that, to the question that was before that. To wives that are on this call, just like Shawn did with Ken, sometimes we gotta set our husbands up. I have set my husband up so many times. He don't even know some of the times to this day that I set him up. But listen, if I want our marriage to grow, I started connecting with other married couples and inviting them over for dinner, because I knew that the guy that my girlfriend was married to, that my husband was going to, even if he didn't connect with him immediately, they were going to connect on some level the more they came over. And that has happened. One of my best girlfriends, at first they got this little story about they didn't connect.
We both was like, they both kept trying to get us to hook up, right? And I was like, we both grew up in Highland Park. So we both got the same way that we were raised. And I was like, I don't even know if I like that dude. I don't know if I want to hang out with him. He talking about going to dinner. He was saying the same thing to his wife. I don't even know if I like him like that. I don't know if we want to go to dinner.
Right.
And then we end up getting together, and now we cool.
Cool is all cool.
But I want to touch on one thing too. A lot of times men don't want to ask their wives to teach them, right, certain things, because we have this worldly view that our wives suck our brains out and brainwash us to be like robots, right? So we got to kill that mentality and get out of that mentality. I mean, it's true. Most people on this call, they'll agree with it too. Their wives just keep yapping in their ear, and they feel like if they give in, they getting their brains sucked out. So, and they trying to mold them and teach them into being a robot. You know what I'm saying? So y'all got to get out of that mindset.
Thank you, guys. I have a quick question for the ladies. Wives, have you ever dealt with a husband who has had depression or anxiety? If so, how do you suggest, or how have you dealt with supporting a husband that has either experienced that, gone through a bout of that? Does anyone want to speak to that?
I can speak to that. My husband is not a depressive person at all. but we almost lost our house. We have an amazing testimony from that. But, you know, we were one of those people that our mortgage company sold our house up under our necks without even telling us, doing a refi. We were doing a redetermination.
We was doing a loan modification.
A loan modification in the middle of that, you know, and my husband kept calling, hey, you guys are not, you know, because we weren't paying the mortgage, and we kept trying to pay them. They say, no, don't send the payment in. And the next thing we know, we come home one day, there's a white paper on our door. And you know what a white paper means, get out, right? But then the funny thing about that, when you go into a foreclosure, they give you 6 months. Guess what? When they put that paper on that door, we only had 3 months left to get out of our home. Now, as you can see, we are still in that same home, because when that happened, this one here went into Superman, right? But at the same time, he was working. We had 3 months was Christmas. We got to be out the house in the winter. And not only that, it was not a buyer's market. The housers were selling.
That's when the market crashed.
The market crashed.
So you have a house that's worth $270,000 now only worth $85,000.
And so my husband was running around. We were seeing houses literally every day. And I was in prayer, strong prayer, in fasting, praying, asking God, listen, I'm trusting you, Lord. And I had a peace that come over me, but he was frustrated, and I saw that on him. So I would go into prayer for him, and I would ask God, Lord, help my husband. Give him a peace. Guide us and lead us, Father. I know this because I understood the responsibility as the head of the household. My husband, we've never had our lights cut off, gas cut off. We don't know that world. So for our house to be taken from us, one, it's embarrassing. And because who wants to explain that story? You know, because it sounds like you're lying or whatever. And he was overwhelmed, and I saw the stress on him. And I came to him and I said, you got to stop. Because he was starting to come at me, because he pulled up at this house that I was not going to move in, and was so mad at me because I didn't even want to get out and look at the house.
Because I'm a builder, so I'm like, I could turn a shack into a palace.
No, I'm not.
Like, all I need to do is see the bones.
It wasn't even in the neighborhood that I wanted to live in. I wasn't going to live in it. And he was mad at me, but it was the stress. I realized, and that's why I wasn't going to get out the car. And then my husband said, get out. And I can hear the Holy Spirit say, get out the car, like he said. So I went in the house, and I was looking around, and he looked at my face, and he knew I wasn't excited. And he was like, but you know what I can do? I said, you asked me to come in. You cannot make me like something that I don't like. But I realized that he was up under a lot of pressure. And when I tell you that I went into prayer for him, we trusted God. And when I tell you by the end of that, we took those people to court, and they took $60,000 off our loan, and we were able to keep our home. But that was a stressful time. And that's why the Bible says, be ready in season and out of season. So I was already in my word. I was already a praying woman. And so when that time came, stressed in, I wasn't fearful. And so I knew that I had to the Bible says 2 is better than 1. Because if the 1 is down, you can lift them up. There's times I'm stressed. I've been stressed, and he'll lift me up. There's times that he's been concerned, and I'll have to lift him up. And that's what you have to do as a wife.
But one thing we did through that process is we instead of being prideful and embarrassed, we reached out to all our core friends, right? Our core friends are the people you surround yourself with. Positive people, not people who gonna be on Facebook talking about y'all, they about to lose their house and all that.
Pray
kind
for
of
them,
stuff.
but really trying to tell on you.
But and so we were able to get in contact with, the proper people in order to help us save our house. Amen. Other than
that is an awesome testimony. I'm gonna ask all the couples, just by a show of hands. This question came over, and I'm gonna word it this way. Should you take advice from a single, divorced, or never married individual? If you have, or you think you should, raise your hand.
I'm with Ken. You know what I mean? If you ain't winning the race, don't tell me how to run it.
So that's the answer to that question. Whoever asked that in the group chat, it's a strong no. So we're going to end on this note. Strong. Everybody had the straight face. The strong no.
It's almost like, Jasmine, it's almost like.
If you ain't never won no race, don't tell me how to run one.
It's almost like, have you ever seen a 300-pound fitness trainer? If you walked in, you would be like, okay,
just grab his hamburger right here. We're about to get started.
Right. You don't trust it. I saw someone that I knew that was doing wealth management training, and I knew they were broke. I could not take them serious. I'm sorry. If you broke, you cannot tell me about wealth. You can, but I don't have to listen.
No.
So if you have not had a successful marriage, which means you have not went through it and got through it. So you don't know what that is. So you cannot really advise someone that to do, because what that person will do is they'll end up contaminating the advice. It may sound good at first, but then it's contaminated with their experiences because they don't have a successful experience.
What they think it is. That's like when I bought my first Jag. I had a friend of mine, because misery loves company, and it's like crabs in a barrel. They don't want to see you prosper, so they'll try to throw that little bag. Hey man, you shouldn't buy a Jag. They have a bunch of electrical problems. And I say, well, how many electrical problems did the Jag you have? Well, I ain't never had one. I said, well, then shut up then. I don't want to hear nothing you got to say.
And on that note, there's two questions, but I'm going to let you all choose, right? Each couple, please answer one of these two questions because I want to give each person an opportunity to have it addressed. The first question that was asked that you could choose from and take about 2 minutes to answer either one.
You're going to have to take actually about 1 minute because we're closing out on time. We're going to have the quick answers. Go ahead.
All right. What is your best advice to grow with your spouse? This last question just came in. How to balance a company, kids, and wife having a job where it doesn't destroy the dynamics of your relationship?
I'm sorry. Separate those two questions. Give us the first one again, please.
Best advice for growing together.
You try to please her more than she can please you, or you try to please your spouse more than they can please you.
That's good.
If you're serving them and they're serving you, the problems are over.
Browns or Johnson, do you want to answer?
Yeah, I would say definitely finding out your spouse's love language and feeding into that.
Absolutely, and I'll just say, prioritize. Make them first. They always come first.
Mm-hmm. Say communicate. You can never over communicate what is on your mind and on your heart. Be honest, real, and authentic with your spouse at all times. Even if it hurts their feelings, you have to get it out because if not, it's going to hurt you and the marriage in the end. So communicate.
I would agree. Communicate, over communicate, and most importantly, ask them what they need from you, and then be open to that is going to change and it's going to be organic, and be open to that change.
Okay.
Let me 1 second. Let me say something to what they just said. The couples have to make a commitment to have a safe zone in communication. You got to create a signal or something to say, is this a safe zone? Which means when they say that, they're saying, can I be real and honest? I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but this is what I'm feeling. And you have to make the decision that you're not going to take offense to it, but really hear their heart. That means we're in a safe zone and we're able to really voice what we feel without the danger of being attacked and you shutting down on us. So create that. Yes, you need to communicate and over communicate, but inside of that communication has to be a safety zone for each individual to be able to say their truth, even though it might not be your truth. Go ahead, Jazz.
So our last and final question, this is a bonus question. I just saw it. I think we've addressed a lot of this, but I'll leave it open if you want to add any final words on how to balance a company, kids, and wife having a job where it doesn't destroy the dynamics of our relationship. Any final words on how to do that in totality?
You just got to have a schedule.
A schedule? Okay.
You got to plan it. Like for us, when our kids were younger, Friday night was our night to go out and do whatever we wanted to do. Separate. Because I always explain to my wife, I had a life before you, you had a life before me. So just because we got married don't mean we should stop hanging out with our friends or spending time with people that we love, family members,
or doing what you love doing.
Because sometimes you get so busy with your family, you don't even see your parents, your aunties, your uncles, or none of that kind of stuff. So if you just have a night to yourself where you can go visit different family members or the people you want to see, that keeps you in contact not only with your family, but your friends. And then one night you have where you spend time with just your spouse. It's your date night, different things like that. And then we have another day where it's just all of us
The
family
day.
time.
So you have one day. So Friday night, we had a babysitter. So we'll both leave the house. You go your way. No one's being a bugaboo, calling somebody 5 times while they gonna leave me alone. And we were respectful. You know, if I was gonna get in past a certain time, I would call him and say, hey, you know, I'm still over here. We just still chit chatting or whatever. He'll do the same. So there's a respect level. Back to communication, what the Brown said. But then also you have the time again, time separate, time together, and then time as a family. Vital important.
I'll echo the exact same thing, schedule. No, understanding what the individuals want. Like you say, the date nights, just knowing, and just understanding your priority. I go back to the priority thing, understanding that whether it's your job, know where your job comes in at and what place it comes in your life. If you're putting your job before your spouse, it just won't work because you're married to that, you're married to that job instead. But that spouse needs to understand what's going on. So it comes back to scheduling and then just that open communication. If you got something going on at work, talk to your spouse like, hey, you ain't gotta get into detail, but here's what's going on. Just open communication and schedule.
Yeah, I would concur. If you own your own business, try to involve your spouse and children in parts of that business if you can, because so they can really understand, appreciate what you do. But most importantly, like they say about all the gentlemen, everybody said, prioritize that. Family is always first. Family means forget about me, I love you. And so I think I can speak to that. Sometimes we put the business first and then we can make excuses with ourselves. So I can just say in closing, it takes a conscious effort. You got to be intentional and focused about keeping family first, and everything else will fall in place.
I agree.
One thing I learned about a woman, anything, I don't care what it is, I don't care if it's football, basketball, work, if she feels like it's more important than her, you're going to have a problem with it. Okay? So if you want to go to the basketball game on Thursday night, you better make sure you take care of her on Tuesday or Wednesday night.
Down.
You know what I mean?
Just handle us, and we don't care what you
They got to know that they're more important than anything. Mm-hmm. If she come in the room and you watching the game, you got to stop watching and turn around and look at her. Just so she know that she's more important in that game, then she won't bother you no more. That comes with experience.
Thank you to all the couples. This was wonderful. I have so many private messages that have come across saying how awesome this was, that they wanted to make sure it was recorded to share with friends, and also to thank the Browns, the Johnsons. They're still coming in privately. This was awesome. This was so good. Well, if you love this, be sure to tune in next Wednesday at 8 p.m. We have a series going on through the rest of this month. Oh, they're asking for a copy and requesting copy of this recording, Toy. So I refer that over to you. Toy, do you have any closing statements or anything you want to say?
Yes, I want to thank all of our guests for coming. We want to remind you that this is a 4 series. So we're going to have special guests each week. We have 3 more Wednesdays. It's going to be from 8 to 10. So listen, you know how it was good for you. You know that there are some people in your life that can really this benefit from this call, and it can be valuable and actually can change their whole entire marriage. And so why don't you bring them in as a group and say, hey, this night is our married night. We're all at home. We don't want our friends' marriages to fall apart or our family members. So make sure you invite them. The same link. If you are already registered, guess what? This is the same link you're going to use for the coming weeks. So make sure you put it on your Google Calendar to remind you to come on and join us every Wednesday up until the 28th or the 29th, somewhere down there, for the next 3 Wednesdays. We're going to have different conversations, but listen, get your questions ready. If there is something that that's going on in your marriage and you want answers, the only reason why you won't get it if you won't ask it. You have not because you ask not. So we thank you all again. We appreciate and love you all, right, Daddy?
Yep. And the Johnsons and the Browns, we really appreciate you guys coming on with us and sharing your testimonies and your thoughts to the public. And we wish you guys all the success in your marriages. And we hope that God blesses you with 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right, we love you guys.
Man.
Love you.